Think back to your childhood again and imagine waking up wide-eyed to a glistening blanket of snow as far as your eyes could see. So you'd rush to get ready for school and fly out your front door, zigging and zagging, pushing and dragging your feet to create a one-of-a-kind path through the freshly fallen snow. And invariably, the next kid in the neighborhood would escape his home and follow your crooked path, kicking away and stomping down more snow on his way. And then the next kid, and the next, until eventually there was a well-worn, precisely defined route all the way to school. Well, that's what happens with your mind as well. When you perform the same acts over and over again, you develop a pathway or memory trace in your brain. That's how actors are able to reproduce their scripts. They act out the performance, connecting the words and bodily movements in an emotional and causal chain of learned experiences. And like a dry path in wet snow, it becomes a comfortable routine, a mental path of least resistance. To remove this habit, or old way of thinking and acting, requires that you step out of your well-worn routine and get your brain wet and uncomfortable with a new experience. But here's the problem. This compulsion to remain in your dry, comfortable story is extremely powerful. The more you behave in a certain way, eventually your mind will simply turn and come along for the ride. Try this, but please not if you're driving a non-self-driving vehicle. Fold your arms across your chest in a "I'm a badass" pose. Do you feel it? Okay, now reverse your arms and hands. How does it feel now? Yeah, it means absolutely nothing, and there is no threat or risk, yet your conditioned mind rebels against it. That's Coleridge, making you feel uncomfortable about any change, no matter how irrelevant, in order to keep you immersed in your safe, predictable story. Researchers have recently discovered that we often make bad economic and health decisions because of this conditioning. For example, we care much more about avoiding losses than we care about making gains. And so we are reluctant to change from our current situation, our script, because it means making a decision. And that decision could make us worse off. In other words, better safe than sorry. As a director of the movie in your head, Coleridge knows that if you say or do anything that is off script, it may disrupt the flow of the performance, the status quo, and cause you more aggravation than benefit. Let's say that you're thinking about switching to a plant-based diet for health or ethical reasons. As soon as Coleridge catches wind of this new desire, he'll start talking to you, manipulating your feelings and thoughts to create doubt and anxiety. And he'll dig deep to find your most emotionally salient memories and then use them to project a future where your new, incoherent vegetarian choice creates an unpredictable and unsettling story. Right? What will we prepare when everyone comes to the house for Thanksgiving? What about the 4th of July cookouts with friends? Are we supposed to haul a bag of carrots with us or something? Wait, what about the significant other? Are we going to ask her to change her diet too? What if we go out to eat and she orders a steak? Speaking of which, we'll have to stop going to our favorite restaurant. Hey, what if we don't get enough protein and B vitamins? We may get sick or die. Coleridge plays this head game with your feelings and thoughts anytime you consider any new thought or experience that's outside your scripted story. Your anxiety comes from creating negative expectations of an unknowable future, or from trying to find incontrovertible evidence to support your idea. For example, if you slow down at work because you're curious about a particular person or process, or to, let's say, investigate a new idea, your director will warn you that you may look foolish or fall behind. And worse, your new behaviors may create havoc with the other characters' stories, which will inevitably come back around on you. So why take the chance? Let's say you're in a hurry and late for an important client meeting, and you walk towards someone hunched over and groaning on the sidewalk. At first, your compassionate instincts will rise up and you'll slow down to look. But then the voice of Coleridge will immediately kick in below your own level of conscious awareness to keep you moving, businesslike in your script. He doesn't look that sick. He's probably just drunk or hungover. I mean, what if this is some kind of a scam? Just keep moving, keep moving. Someone else will stop. Anyway, we're going to be late and the client is going to be pissed off. See, this has nothing to do with what kind of person you are, your deepest held moral values. It's all a consequence of your hypnotic script, the single-minded striving in your day-to-day story. A famous study took place in 1973 at Princeton Theological Seminary. 40 students took part in an experiment which was supposedly a study on religious education and vocations. In one building, they completed a questionnaire, and then they were instructed to go to another building to give either a talk on jobs or a talk on the parable of the Good Samaritan. The participants were told to hurry, but to different degrees. Okay, so on the way to the second building, there was an actor who was part of the study. He was hunched over in the alley, in plain sight, and in clear need of help. So did the participants, these seminary students, stop and help? Well, the researchers found that it didn't matter whether the participants were going to talk about jobs or about the parable of the Good Samaritan. It was the hurry variable that significantly correlated to the helping behavior. The more the participants were in a hurry, the less helping behavior they demonstrated. In fact, only 10% of those who were in the high hurry category offered aid to the suffering actor. Now, you don't need a sociological study to know this to be true about human behavior. But here's the thing. It's not just about people in need. Most of us will walk by and dismiss everyone, everything, and every thought that we feel is irrelevant or potentially troublesome to our script. We're seduced by the practical and find comfort in speed and routine. And so most of the time we simply stay lost in our story, oblivious to the world around us. The flow of the familiar lulls us into total mindlessness. Now, Coleridge is not trying to narrow your perspective or your sense of compassion and possibility. He doesn't want you to be insensitive and ignorant and make unintelligent decisions. He simply doesn't care. He just wants to make sure that you stay focused and comfortable. He thinks that you'll become overwhelmed and confused by the complex and dynamic world, all of the happenings on the set. And so he has you tune out everything that's not immediately useful or which may cause you to question your critical performance. If your biases and beliefs are not causing you any serious problems, why on earth would you want to slow down and consider them? So a young woman is preparing a roast while her friend looks on, and she cuts off both ends of the roast, puts it in a pan. Her friend says, "Why do you cut off the ends?" "I don't know," the woman replies. "My mother always did, and I learned how to cook from her." So her friend's question made her curious about her roast preparation. So during her next visit home, she asked her mother, "Hey, Mom, how do you cook a roast?" And her mother proceeded to explain and added, you cut off both ends and put it in the pan and then in the oven." "Why do you cut off the ends?" the daughter asked. Baffled, the mother replied, "That's how my mother did it, and I learned from her." Okay, her daughter's inquiry made the mother think more about the roast preparation. So when she next visited her mother, she asked the question, "Mom, how do you cook a roast?" The mother answered, thinking between sentences, "Well, you prepare it with spices, cut off both ends, and put it in the pan." So the mother asked, "But why do you cut off the ends?" And the grandmother's eyes sparkled as she remembered, "Well, the roasts were always bigger than the pan we had back then, so I had to cut off the ends to make it fit." You see, the young woman and her mother were not certain about their roast preparation procedure. Unlike Grandma, they didn't have a logical reason to support their behavior. And they were not comparing their roast to others, hoping to validate, their identities as excellent cooks. Instead, their roast routines had simply become a comforting part of their scripts, behaviors that help them minimize stress and risk. And hell, what's wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with comfort. Nothing. Just like there's nothing wrong with striving to be more certain or systematically comparing and contrasting options in order to make informed decisions. But there certainly is too much of a good thing. Similar to any tool or technology, it all depends on how you choose to use Coleridge's 3 C's. The problem is this: Coleridge is using those tools on you to direct your attention, to keep you hypnotized, lost in your story, obsessively focused on achievement in the external world. Have you heard the story of the fisherman and the businessman? It's a popular story. So a successful businessman was on vacation and standing at the pier of a small coastal village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Seeing several large tuna inside the small boat, the businessman complimented the fisherman on the quality of the fish, and he asked how long it took to catch them. "Only a little while," the fisherman replied. Okay, a little surprised, the businessman asked, "Well, why didn't you stay out longer? Catch more fish?" Well, the content fisherman said, "Well, this is enough to support my family's immediate needs. I don't need any more." "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" asked the confused businessman. And the fisherman said, "I sleep late, I fish a little, play with my children, take a walk with my wife, stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my friends. I have a full and busy life." The businessman scoffed at him, right? "Look, I have an MBA from Harvard, and I could help you. here's what you should do. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. And then, with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats. Eventually, you would have a fleet of fishing boats, and instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you would sell directly to the processor. Eventually, opening your own cannery. You'd control the product, processing, and distribution. You would need to leave this small coastal fishing village and move to LA and eventually New York City, where you will run your expanding enterprise. The fisherman looked at him and asked, "So how long will this all take?" To which the businessman replied, 10, 20 years. "But what then?" the fisherman asked. The businessman laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you announce an IPO and you sell company stock to the public and you become very rich. You would make millions." "Millions, sir. Then what?" "Well, then you would retire, move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take a walk with your wife, and stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play your guitar with your friends." Do you see? Everyone is ultimately after the same things in life. After certain basic needs are met, we're all seeking the same feelings of belonging, personal growth, meaning, and of being alive, and with the freedom to make those decisions for ourselves. And we've been led to believe that we can only achieve those feelings by pursuing and achieving more, bigger, and better goals in the external world. It's a complete illusion. Look, Coleridge is a good servant. He's a terrible master. He will never bring you the peace and joy that you desire. So what will? What's the solution? If you step out of your self-story, your compulsive desire for certainty, comparison, and comfort, what will take its place? What will motivate you and inspire others? What's the way out? In the second half of the program, I'm going to show you the way out. A unique, counterintuitive approach to life that will answer the fundamental question: how might I live if there were more to life than what I've been led to believe? One of the most famous lines in the movie Lawrence of Arabia declares, "Truly, for some men, nothing is written unless they write it." In today's modern world, that reality is true of most people. Their minds have been seduced by the script, by dependency and comfort, and it typically takes something traumatic to wake them up. And then, as in all great stories, they'll do what truly moves them. You see, if you look closely, you'll find that most movies eventually show the hero as we wish we could be. But here's the thing. You don't have to wish for it. You don't have to live vicariously through movies, books, and video games. You can experience it whenever you consciously break the trance of comfort and routine by listening to Keats and stepping into uncertainty to see where it takes you. Once you realize that the world is chaotic and dynamic, that no one is in control, and that it's simply the universe or the divine, God, or whatever you choose to call the invisible force behind the mystery of existence, doing its dance of desire. You'll stop chasing your future. You'll relax, jump in, and join the dance. You'll confidently live from the inside out and give full expression to the gift that has come to you, your unique essence and ideas. So here are your options. Live your life as an exclamation mark, true to your deepest internal callings. Or live it as a question mark, passively dragged around on the leash of conformity. It's your choice, and one of the very few that you actually have any control over. And I can assure you that 20 years from now, it will be the only decision you'll wish you could do over again. So, do you have the nerve to be you? It's another paradox and one of life's most difficult. If you live as an exclamation mark, as Keats, you'll be vulnerable. The questioning world of Coleridge will probably reject you. You see, but that tension is what will make you feel most alive. Why? Because it comes with Keats' transcendent pleasure, his childlike excitement, learning, and creation. And that will set you free and give you a life that stretches your inherent capabilities and stirs your passions. Plus, do you really think that your odds for success and happiness improve by towing the line and hoping for things to change? If you spend your whole life calculating what's safe and acceptable, is that really a good life? Go grab a rubber band. I'll wait. Okay, now loop it around both of your thumbs. So here is where you are presently in your comforting story. Now go ahead and stretch it out as far as it will go, right in front of your face. Keep stretching it until it feels like it's going to snap. That's possibility. Hold it there. Can you feel that tension? That's the tension you'll experience in your mind between Keats, faith in your inner voice, and possibility, and Coleridge, belief in the comforting stories you're telling yourself. Why? Because those stories involve others, and you will fear their reaction if you choose to step out of them and live your dreams. The tension may frighten them or make them uncomfortable. You may also fear the pain of losing, right? All of this, your relationships, your savings, your possessions, your lifestyle. We're conditioned to fear those losses much more than to desire a better life. That's why we don't want to let go of old sweaters. I mean, even if we never wear them, or get out of relationships, even when they are no longer making us happy. But think about it. Is that really how you want to live your one and only life? Like this? F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." That's the paradoxical underpinning of negative capability, which we'll cover in detail in an upcoming session. We can either be Keats and venture out into uncertainty, create amazing scenes, and tolerate the ambiguity and confusion that we feel, or we can live a more tedious, restrained existence and get our feelings from a simulated world of safe, manufactured stories. Now, I am not suggesting that there is a right way or a wrong way to live. 108 billion people have lived on the planet, and each person chose a different way to live. Your job is to discover your way, your truest self, and then make choices that release that essence. Share your uniqueness and create an exciting and meaningful life. Howard Thurman had it right. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. The reality is that most people will relentlessly ask the world what it needs, stay in their scripted roles. And that's okay. But there are others, a select few, who will stretch and create amazing lives and amazing scenes. And for no other reason than because it's inside of them and it needs to come out to benefit themselves, the world, and those other passionate souls like them. Frankly, I can't think of a better reason. And if you've listened this far, you're probably one of those select few. So join us on an inspiring journey to find your true and deepest self. Reach the ultimate in personal growth and radiate possibility into the world, because you are not a character in a story defined by an imaginary past. You are the energy of the universe, temporarily experiencing the world in human form. Let's come alive and make the most of it.